This is Shruti from Document 360, the co-organizer of this webinar. Thank you for joining this session today. Today with us, we have Akash Jujam, a senior information developer, precisely. He has extensive experience in both mechanical and software domain documentation. He has actively contributed to documenting on-premises and SaaS products. His role has evolved over time, encompassing positions as a technical writer, instructional designer, trainer, and project manager. The topic for today is crafting seamless in-app experiences. In this session, he will share the impact of technical writers in shaping user engagement and enhancing the overall user experience within the application. The webinar will also provide insights into the pivotal role of technical writers in elevating in-app assistance, emphasizing how effective communication contributes to user satisfaction and retention. After the presentation, there will be a Q&A session. So I would request all of you participants to key in your questions on the Q&A platform so that our team can collate and hand them over to us. Thank you. Over to you now, Akash.
All right, welcome everyone. A very good afternoon and good evening, and thanks for joining in. Today, I will be talking about crafting seamless in-app experiences and how our role as technical writers is crucial in in-app assistance. Okay, starting with the overview of this presentation, we will start with taking a look at how the changing landscape of user assistance, the user's learning journey, and the product cycle. What is in-app assistance, its role, and what are the different aspects of in-app assistance? Some of the best practices while crafting in-app assistances, and the benefits and key takeaways from this presentation. So, talking about the landscape of user assistance. Now, at some point, we all may have started writing content or writing help content at some point where it was actually handwritten. And it might be for software or mechanical, whatever the user guides or manuals would be. And then that shifted to having printed help documentation. And then it was online help that is like mostly over widely used right now. And the term that we were coined as was mostly technical writer or technical communicators because we were writing content or communicating technical help content to our users. But then moving ahead, we were not just focused on writing, but we also started creating multimedia content, which is in the form of images, GIFs, or videos, and so on. And that was not limited to just writing, but we were actually creating information or developing information. And then we started calling ourselves as information developers. And then moving ahead, right now we are in the era that we are not just creating multimedia content or it's not just about writing, but it is also about helping the users within the application while they are trying to achieve that task, which is writing user assistant content within the application. That is the reason why we are more emphasized now calling ourselves as user assistance developers, where we are creating user assistance artifacts and not just content, right? And of course, right now there are other names that we have are information architects and content strategists, but we keep on evolving is the point. Now taking a look at the user's learning journey. So there are different stages when someone is trying to adopt a product, right? The first is the reach. Now talking about reach, it is where the user comes in touch with you and your company for the first time. And this is called awareness or the discovery stage. And this can be in different forms. It can be someone who is landing upon your product website. It can be someone who is going through a LinkedIn post, or it can be even a referral that is given by a friend. But that is where it creates a curiosity in you to try out a product. The next is the acquisition part, where you have in the stage, you have already learned about the product, but this is now where you are trying to make a decision about trying or buying the product. Now, this phase may happen on an email or in person or maybe on phone, or even you may need to fill up a sign up form for that trial. Now, while we are at the second stage, let's take an example of the product, one of the authoring product that we use, that is 𝐭𝐚𝐤𝐸 Author. Now, while using that, let's say I first landed upon the website. That was the reach that I discovered about the product. And then I want to try it out, which is the acquisition or the buying phase. So when I go onto the website, when I'm trying to download the product, it will also ask me to fill some of the information, maybe name, organization name, email ID, and so on, right? So that is where that is where I'm trying to making a decision of trying and buying, and this is where it is important team is pitching uh, about the technical aspects or the how it is going to help user as a product. The next is activation, where I've already made a decision, but I'm trying to invest in that product. Now, this is where the sales team or the professional services plays a role where they have to onboard the user. They have to reduce the user churn, and they have to make sure everything is seamless and the user is inside your application or they have invested in your application. And the next is the retention and engagement part. Now, let's say I have got the Oxen XML author, and now I have started using it. Now, what is the first thing as a user when you will land into the application? What do you expect from the application? So maybe a couple of points. That is how to get started, right? You wonder what is the first thing that I need to do. So these are the certain things that will define the engagement with the product. The more engaged I feel, the more happy I will feel to explore the product. I will try to see different things that I can do it. Rather than being more interested in what are the features of the product, I would be more interested in what I can do with the product. And that in turn, the more satisfaction or the more the pleasure that I feel while exploring the product is the chances that I will have of having a retention of that product and sticking to that product. And the last stage is loyalty, where like I am so happy with the product. It is so easy to use. I'm getting all the help that I need. I'm not struggling anywhere. I'm able to do the task seamlessly. And that is where I stick to the product, not just stick to the product, but I also be the advocate of the product. I start talking about it. I may refer to my colleagues or friends and so on. So the most crucial stages of the product cycle where in application assistance is important are retention and then loyalty. Now, why these two stages? Now, these are the two stages where the user will need most of the assistance. He will need assistance in how to get started with the product. He will need help whenever he is getting stuck. He should get help within the application itself. He should be able to get answers for his questions, or if he is stuck at something, it should be easier within the application rather than trying to reach out to support and then raise an issue and then having back and forth. And loyalty is, of course, I have reached a stage where I feel that the assistance is so great that I need minimum supervision for support, or I need minimal communication from support, that I feel empowered and confidence that I can do anything with the product and I can look for help or my answers within the application itself. Now let's start with what is in application assistance. Of course, as it says, it is assisting user inside the application. It empowers users to accomplish tasks efficiently. Since it is assistance within the application itself, he never has to leave the application, which is a pleasant experience, and that is the reason he feels much more confident. And it reduces frustration associated with the learning curves. Since he will be assisted at every stage of his journey, he will feel less frustrated in trying to figure out what he has to do next if he gets this task done, or what are the most important tasks that he needs to complete first to do something else. And of course, this in application assistance enhances adoption and engagement with the software applications. The more happy I am, the more satisfied I feel. Is what it will increase the adoption and engagement within the software. Now, talking about this, I just want to start with a small example. So this is the ICICI login page, and if you see, I have a guided tour tab. And if I click this, it gives me a set of tasks that I can start with. Now, let's say want to log in into this using self-created login ID. And the moment I click this, ask the tour of that particular task. First, it gives me what is it to enter my self-created login ID, and it is giving me an example. Now let's say I type in something, and the moment I type in, it goes to the next stage. The it also shows the number of steps that I need to do for this task, so that I'm aware. Okay, I have to four steps until I get this task done. Now let's say I enter the password, and then it moves on to the next step where it says I have to select a landing page. And then the last stage where it says click on proceed and proceed to log in and access your services. Now, the point with this example was this is a smaller implementation of in-app assistance, or one of the example in the form of guided tour. Now, switching back to our presentation. Okay, I hope the presentation is visible. And moving on to the next slide. The role of in-app assistance. Now, what exactly it plays a role in the product journey or in your product? It reduces friction since I will have all the assistance within the application. I will have the onboarding assistance that will reduce the friction or the hurdles that I will face while going through the applications or trying to achieve something with the product. It increases user engagement as we saw, since less frustration or with reduction of friction, I'm going to be more engaged with the product itself. It will make me feel empowered. I will be more confident to try out any part of the application, because even if it may not be a product tour, I know that it has assistance within the application itself, and it is going to guide me whenever I feel stuck. It makes onboarding faster. It does not obviously need a support person to guide you through on a call or maybe give you a demo. And of course, this depends case to case basis based on what are the onboarding tasks that the user needs to do while getting used to the application. It supports for diverse user base. By that I mean it is not just for a beginner. Even if someone is an advanced user, the good thing about assistance is you can actually tailor your assistance based on the user level as well, whether it is a returning user or whether it is a first time user. And then moving on to the next slide, some of the types of in-app assistance. Now, these might be just a couple of them. Embedded documentation. So most of us may have a dedicated help center that hosts all our help content. And then embedded documentation is nothing but your documentation or help center, which is within your application itself. Product tools is what we saw an example, is it guides users through certain set of tasks that he needs to do, along with some tooltips that helps him to understand what and why that is has to be done. Contextual help buttons and icons are something which a user gets the the help at that point itself, whether it is in the form of a small context button in the info icon, or it may be a question mark icon. But it can be within a field, it can be within a screen, but it gives him the context of that particular area or section of the product there and there itself. Then the chatbots are something again, an interactive in application assistance where users can ask different type of questions, and chatbots can be of course AI driven, which are most of it in these days, or it can be logic driven where a preset of questions are already there, and with the set of flow or logic, the user is directed to the correct assistance that he needs. Tooltips and overtext are of course again small in-app assistance where there is a need of maybe not a very complex in-app assistance, but a small one-liner where it tries to explain what that field is or what that UI element or a button is on the user interface. Error messages and troubleshooting. Now, this is important, of course, when someone is going through the application. There might be cases where something unexpected is done and an error, and that is where he needs to understand why that error has occurred and what is that error and what is the workaround around it. And of course, that again is compensated by troubleshooting guides, which can be a part of in-app assistance. So that whenever he is stuck or something he gets as an error, he can easily find out the answers within the application itself. Then in context guides and get started guides are again on the same line where he has a set of content within the application itself, or get started guides is something which can help him get started with the most basic task or the first task that he needs to do when he is inside the application.
Okay, so we just saw some types of in-application assistance, and uh, right now we will go through some aspects of in-application assistance. Now, the types that we already saw, we will see some of the more examples of actual real-life products in some of the cases. The first is understanding the user needs. Now, of course, why you are writing any type of assistance, not just in application assistance. So it is for your users and not actually the product, because you are trying to help users achieve their goals or day-to-day tasks with your product and solve issues or get their tasks done, right? And this is where user research and analysis is important. So by doing this, you will be able to identify the user needs and preferences, and then understand the user behavior and pain points, and accordingly develop your effective in-app assistance. And of course, a user-centric approach is what it helps you to craft your in-app assistance, which meets the specific needs and preferences of the target audience. Now, this will happen only if you are able to understand the pain points of the users. You are able to identify the gaps that the user feels when they are into our application. Now, with along with the user feedback, along with the user research and analysis, user feedback is something which is important, because that is when you will get feedback on your in-app assistance to able to figure out what exactly needs to be improved, and that is an iterative process which will in turn have effect on well-crafted in-app assistance, and which will result in user satisfaction. Now, moving ahead, I just want to walk you through again an example. Uh, Let me switch my screen. Okay, the next slide. Uh, so this is an example of Slack. Now, this is the point with this example is to make you understand that with understanding the user needs is crucial, where you will be able to focus the areas of your product that needs assistance when the user is inside for the first time. Now, in this example, I have logged into Slack for the first time. I will play the video, and it gives me a tour of the product when I log in to the application for the first time. So first it shows me the activity menu and what I can be able to do. So I can quickly see through notifications, and it switches to the personal section where I can switch between organization and workspaces. Then the headset icon where I can join a voice or video huddle, and also along with that it tells me what that actually is. And then when I click next, it again takes me to the more section, what all I can do. I can customize my Slack, and then finally I can take a look at the help, which is a small icon on question mark icon on the top right. Now the intention behind this was, if you notice, not all the sections of the UI were explained. So it was a specific targeted interface or sections of the product which required tool or required an assistance in explaining what the areas are and what I can do in those areas. So if you see, I did not get any info on this chat or this toolbar of the chat. I did not get any info on the chat sections in the menu. So it was like a well thoughtful, crafted assistance which walked me through the user interface of Slack. Now moving on to the next slide again. Crafting effective onboarding content. Now, what is onboarding content? We earlier saw, okay, so we earlier saw onboarding is something when I am at the uh, when I'm inside the application, when I've made the investment and I am ready to use the product. So that is when I need to understand. So there are two ways: either there's a sales team that walks through the demo and all that thing, but making a product self-sustainable or a self-service product is where an onboarding content or onboarding in-app assistance will help me to understand what are the things that I need to do or what I can do when I am right away or right inside the product. Now that can be done by welcome messages, tutorials, getting started guides, and so on, right? That is where our role is to craft those in-app assistance artifacts with a clear, concise, and it should be accessible to users of all skill levels. Now, the importance of getting started guides is where the new users will be able to navigate through your product features and functionalities. And of course, that is when he will be introduced to the most important sections of your uh, now again I have an example of onboarding content which is from Salesforce. I will again play the video and try to catch up with it. So this is the landing page of Salesforce. Now again, I have never used Salesforce and I didn't know what I can do with it. Now on the left I have the login page, and on the right it gives me again a text where it welcomes me, and then it has two call to action buttons where I can watch demos or I can get a free trial. So on the left, I clicked free trial, and then the next page I saw was a sign up page where I had to fill some information. And then on the left is again some onboarding, a part of onboarding text where it helps me to understand what are the different things that I will get in a free trial. Now, the moment I fill in all the info and click start my trial, the next phase is where it will try to set up things for me. Now in this phase again, if you see, it is not letting me just sit and wonder, but it is giving me a message that I have to stay tuned. It is setting things at the back and it will be ready in a while, right? So that again is something very important, a small thing, but a crucial thing when it comes to user experience. Now when everything is set up, it asks me a couple of questions: that what is my experience with Salesforce, what I'm using it for, and that again will define or tailor the in-app assistance when I'm inside the product. So I answered a couple of questions, and of course the last question that I selected was I have never used a CRM system. Now this is the landing page of Salesforce, and again the moment I'm into it, it shows me a welcome to Salesforce page, and it gives me different sections that I can go through. And I clicked forecast revenue, and then it started walking me through the steps that are required for that initial setup. So it asked me, like it showed me different sections of the UI. It took me to the leads page, which I'm right now on, and then it also highlighted the different elements within the UI that will get me started with my first uploading leads. uh, then again these couple of UI elements that it is explaining, and then the final thing is where it tells me that I can either finish this tour or I can either continue it. So when I choose continue, it again shows me that let's try it out and import your leads and see how easy it is to manage your task in Salesforce. Then the next screen, when I click import leads, it shows me a page or a screen where I can import leads, maybe through a file or whatever the process is. Now, this was just a small example, but the crucial point here was that as a user, when I'm new to Salesforce, I've never used it or I have never been into it, but it still helped me to understand what it is and what are the different things I can do. So if you notice that there was a first section where it showed different tasks list, that what are all I can do, and based on what I chose, it started walking me through the steps of those tasks. So this is about the effective onboarding content, that what difference it makes, and it doesn't makes me feel lost as a first time user or someone who has bought the product for the first time. Then again, moving on to the next slide. Wait, it's taking a slight delay to switch the slide. Okay. Next is contextual help and guidance. Now, again, what is contextual help? We already saw some of it. It is something that helps me at that point of time whenever I'm working through a task or I'm on a specific screen on a product. It provides me timely assistance within the application interface itself, and it is a real-time guidance provided to me when I need it within the application interface without having me leave that screen or the product screen. Now the importance is I receive information at that point itself. I don't have to open a different help center, go through different topics and try to search what I'm actually looking for. So it is pinpointing me exactly what I am trying to achieve. As a writer role, our role is to craft very concise and again effective uh, effective contextual help in the form of maybe tool tips, or it may be hover text, or it can be also in context guides or topics that are focused on the task that the user is trying to do at that point of time. And different strategies of deliveries is where it can be either an embedded context sensitive help, which is an entirely what we which can be entirely part of the product, or it can be a link that is embedded on the particular UI element within the product, which takes me to the context sensitive help which opens in a browser. So it depends on the implementation and the different strategies that how contextual help is delivered. Now again, looking at an example of contextual help, I guess we all must have already be aware, but Word is something which provides a great context sensitive help, and mostly all Office suite apps. And switching again my screen, so let's say I am in Word document. Okay, and let's say I am into on the review tab, and I'm trying to track my changes or trying to see what track changes options are. Now when I am on the screen, I have a help icon, right? And the moment I click this, so it will take me to this page which is right here. So it tells me exact what is the screen. It gives me the concise gist of what that track changes options dialog is, and what are the different options and that are there and what they mean. So this is an effective contextual help which is exactly telling me what I need to know at that point of time. Okay, then again switching back to our presentation and moving on to the next slide. Crafting effective error messages and troubleshooting. Now, I'm sure we all used products at some point of time, and I'm also very sure that none of us used a product without a single error message. Right? There might be something, and it is not that the user has done anything wrong. It is something that was by design and something that was unintentionally done by the user. Now, the importance is crafting clear error messages is it gives a positive user experience. It does not blames user, and it also helps him to navigate through that hurdle. He understands why the error is and what he needs to do next. And crafting user friendly is having those error messages in a plain language and providing actionable steps for that error resolution. And that can also be a part of troubleshooting guides where we have already identified certain scenarios where the user may fall into, and those troubleshooting guides can be part of in application assistance where user will be able to find within the application itself when he is stuck or he receives an error with by doing something unexpected or unintentional. Now the impact of effective error resolution is of course there will be increased user satisfaction, and in turn that will have an impact on retention. Now it's not that none of I mean we all expect that should be an error free product, but it is not actually an error. As I said, it is just something that is done unexpectedly, and having that workaround is what the user will make that will make the user feel satisfied, and that and help help him to like navigate that hurdle. Then these are again some of the examples of error messages from MS Suite. Now you will see it every error message as a header. It has some descriptive text where it is trying to explain what that error is and why it may have occurred. And it also has a web link that it will take to more details of that error. Maybe it might be a solution, it might be the cause that why that may have why that may have occurred, and also a workaround in it so that it doesn't occur again. Then moving to the next slide is in-app documentation and knowledge base. So as I talked about, we all most of us have dedicated help centers, but having in-app documentation is embedding it into your product itself. That leads to self-service and searchable knowledge base. The user need not need to come out of your application. He did not need to leave your application, and he gets a access to relevant information within the application itself. That of course improves the accessibility and also reduces support overhead. So they no more might be reaching out to support again and again, but the first intuition is to look within the application itself that what is something that they are trying to do. And integrated help content leads to easy navigation and retrieval of information within the application itself. And self-service support is of course it what we talk about as providing positive user experience by having them feel confident that they are able to find answers on their own rather than being dependent on any support person or uh, trying to look somewhere else. Now again, there is an example of integrated self-help from Slack. We earlier saw a short product tool that it provides when you logged first time, and that ended with this last option where it showed that if he wants to know more about more about the product, he can look into help. So and on the top right we see a question mark icon, and I will just hit the play. So the moment when I click that, it opens the application, it opens the help which is embedded within the application. It has video tutorials, it has different help topics that are segregated into different types. And then when I open it, I see what I need to do within the application itself. Also, it has support for desktop and mobile, which can be seen within that help itself. Now I can also search what I want. Again, I can either type the exact keyword, or the moment I start typing, it shows me what are the available help topics or tasks that I can do. Okay, so again, this was an example of integrated self-help or embedded help within the application itself. Now again, moving on to the next is the last and important aspect is user feedback and continuous improvement. Now we have all worked through a great use in-app assistance. We have tried to put everything that we can to help users, but if there is no means to understand the usability or a feedback mechanism, we will not be able to improve that in-app assistance. So that is where we have to find ways to have that feedback mechanism. So that can be in the form of forms, it can be in the form of surveys, or anything that works for that product. And user feedback is something that will help us to identify the areas for improvement, and incorporating it will make sure it is an iterative development process to drive continuous improvement of not only our in-app assistance, but also it will drive improvement for the product. And it will also help to identify different pain points, usability issues, and the areas of improvements or gaps that are not being solved with the existing in-app assistance. Then moving on to the next slide is some of the best practices. So have different types of content within your in-app assistant. Do not have just like embedded one. Like we already saw some of the examples in Slack. There were videos, there was text content, textual content. You can have how-to articles, there can be FAQs, there can be webinars that the user can see. So it helps to cater the needs of all types of audiences. So you may not stick to someone who just watches videos. There might be someone who wants to go through help content as well along with the video. Someone who is more focused on just FAQs and trying to find answers. Then group resources into different categories for a seamless customer experience. By categories, again, I mean divide your in-app assistance, even if it is like an embedded help. So have a section for get started, have a section for maybe an onboarding checklist, maybe have something, a section called as what's new that shows the latest things that are coming up into the product, or a different section for a knowledge base that leads to further article categories based on those topic types. Now, user use segmentation is where again you can segment your in-app assistance based on the user role. So there can be cases where your product has a designer role or maybe an admin role, and then categorizing or segmenting those in-app assistants with those segmentation will help that particular user role to reach or to go through that content much easier using an in-app widget. So have a widget that is like if you saw on the ICICI uh, example, there was a small tab on the right. So having a widget lets users to quickly access the in-application assistance. So uh, rather than trying to struggle finding the in-app assistant itself, a more emphasizing widget will be easier to locate. Embed chatbot and video tutorials, which we already saw, which will help to find answers. Video tutorials will provide step-by-step guidance for certain tasks, and most important, tracking engagement, which is if you are not able to understand how your in-app assistance is being consumed, or what are the different sections of in-app assistance that are being mostly used, you won't be able to gauge what exactly needs an improvement or what is something that is not used by the users. Then coming to benefits, again, these are interrelated. When you have in-app assistance, it improves and it provides an enhanced user experience. With enhanced user experience, it will increase the user satisfaction. I will feel more confident, more satisfied, and happy to have that product bought. It will increase my engagement with the product. It will reduce my learning curve. I will be it will be much easier for me to understand things, navigate through the product seamlessly. It will resolve issues faster, even if there are errors or even if there are something that I'm getting stuck at. I will have my answers there and there itself. That will lead to increasing my productivity in my day-to-day work. So whatever I'm trying to achieve, that in turn will enhance my productivity in performing those tasks. I will feel more empowered, more confident, and it will in turn reduce the support cost, because the less the people reach out to support and the more they are trying to find answers within the application assistant itself, feeling independent and more confident, that is going to reduce support tickets as well. It will create a positive brand perception. Of course, a great in-app assistance will be something everyone will look forward to, because I guess even if there is someone to assist other than in app, it is going to take time. So when I raise a ticket, it's going to go to support, and even if as small as that issue might be, it is going to take time for the customer support to reach back to you, and then that back and forth is what can be filled in by in-app assistance. And last is continuous improvement. As I said, it will not be just an improvement of your in-application assistance, but also improvement of your product areas, where you will be able to gauge what are the most used sections or the features within your product. Ending with some of the key takeaways for the presentation. So we understood the significance of user-centric approach and how focusing on it will meet the specific needs of users and preferences of users. Then strategic content creation is, we saw learning, having different strategies to deliver your in-app assistance, and that will help guide users through the onboarding process and also facilitate the initial interaction with the application. Then contextual assistance is where we saw its importance of guiding the user at that point of time itself, maybe in the form of tool tips or in context guides, which will deliver relevant information at precisely and accurately at that point of time. Effective error resolution will help them timely get resol have timely resolution of their issues, which will contribute to increased user satisfaction and retention. The accessible documentation will ensure that the users can easily access relevant information without leaving the interface. The feedback again will drive enhancements based on the user and preferences. Enhanced user experience will help with positive initial experience, and of course, it will lead to improve user engagement and a long-term retention with your product. And the last is empowering through assistance, where the users feel empowered to navigate the application confidently and independently, and they contribute to more positive overall, and it contributes to more positive overall experience. So these were the things that I had to share about in-app assistance and how we as tech writers play a crucial role in crafting all of these. And that may not be just in a form of embedded help, but we saw there are different types of in-app assistance that we as writers can contribute, and what are the different things that we should keep in mind when we are trying to provide those user assistance types. So that is all I had, and then thank you so much. I hope it was insightful and you gained something or learned something new.
Thank you, Akash, for sharing your insights on an upcoming and very relevant topic today and answering our queries. On behalf of entire Document 360, I thank everyone who joined this session and hope this was a great session for you all. The entire session has been recorded and will be uploaded to our website soon in case you want to come back and see it along with the presentation deck. Thank you. We will be back again with yet another session. Goodbye.